My 18-year-old sister thought her 40-year-old boyfriend loved her until he forced her into more than just kissing, and after our brother heard her tears, him and his friends went to pay him a visit. Hello everyone, a bit of background information that might help you understand my situation better. We grew up without a father, and our mother is very sick and struggles with drug issues. My older brother 25M practically raised me 19F, and my sister, who just turned 18. We still live in my mother's house, however she may as well not even be there. My brother lives with his girlfriend on the other side of town. And well, here is the issue we have. My sister recently brought an older guy over to our house to watch a movie. He's around 40 years old. I mean, he seems nice enough on the surface, but the age gap and the fact that she only recently turned 18 rubs me the wrong way. I'm not even sure how he could bring himself to even go into an 18-year-old's house. And I've spoken to her about it, and she said that they hadn't done anything sexual except kiss, and she said she isn't in any rush to. She reckons he loves her. Yeah, right. And she loves him, and she's never gone past kissing before and is much more innocent than I was as a teen. My sister hasn't had a boyfriend before, and while she isn't stupid, I feel she is easily manipulated due to her personality and naivete. I went over to my brother's house the day after while he was at work and spoke to his girlfriend 25F about it. She seemed disgusted by the whole thing, but also concerned about telling my brother. While she agreed it had to be done, she said it was important it's done properly, and she agreed not to do it without me. Then, a bit of info about my brother, as I feel it's relevant for this. He is an amazing guy to us. He went above and beyond, sacrificing his teenage years to make sure we got what we needed, even if his means were less than legal. His first trouble with the law was at 19 for stealing to pay for my school dance trip. We never wanted anything. We always had presents under the tree and a nice meal at Christmas thanks to him. Always made sure we had gifts on our birthdays and would take us out to dinner even if he couldn't afford to order anything himself. We rarely missed a school trip as he would always find a way to make it work. And his girlfriend told me that he puts a little bit of money aside each month for our eventual wedding dresses. I honestly couldn't have asked for a better big brother. I know all the pressure had an effect on him, but that's the kind of guy he is. No sacrifice for us was too big. And he's a big guy who regularly spends time in the gym after work. He is also associated with some rather unsavory characters. While he has never ever so much raised his voice at us, I've seen him go absolutely ape at some other people before. A notable example is when I was 17. My then boyfriend smacked me, and he was completely enraged. If my then boyfriend wasn't also a minor, I reckon he would have killed him. He's very protective of us, and I think he sees us as his own children and responsibility. And it is because of this that I doubt he will act calmly about a full man grooming his little sister. While the possibility of anger worries me, his girlfriend was also worried about him getting sad, feeling like he didn't protect her as well as he should have, / feeling like a failure. She said we need to be really careful about how we tell him this. My little sister asked me not to tell him, but there is no way I could do that. Plus, his girlfriend already knows and is going to have more loyalty to him than to my sister. So he's going to find out regardless of what I do. She said tonight when he gets home from work is probably the time to tell him. And I guess what I'm asking is, how do we tell him? I wish none of this had happened. I'm so anxious about the whole thing. And I really don't want my big bro to be hurt, and I don't want him to do anything stupid to the guy and get himself in trouble. I'm really lost here. Update. Thank you everyone for all the comments giving input in such a short space of time. Only have about an hour and a half until he gets home, so I'm glad I have some more input. I'm going around to his house to have dinner with him and his girlfriend, and I'm going to let her lead the discussion. I think this is best because she sort of knows him better. I know that sounds stupid, like how could I not know my brother, but they've been together for 5 years, and while me and him are close, their relationship is much more intimate, and she'll know how his mind works, etc. I think she'll know how best to discuss it, if that makes sense. I'm just unbelievably nervous about how it's going to go through. My sister is currently sleeping over at a friend's house tonight, and I've confirmed with the friend's older sister that she's definitely there. I think this is better than her being at our house and rules out the chance that the creep could be at our house, which would be a recipe for disaster. Hopefully, I'll be able to let you know how it goes later tonight. Wish me luck. Update. 10 hours later. Well, here's the update some of you were interested in. Sorry if it's a bit long and maybe rambled. It's been a rough evening. So I got to his house an hour or so before he arrived and went over a game plan with his girlfriend. She was going to lead it and I was going to put some input where I thought it was best. He He came home in a pretty good mood and we chilled for a bit before sitting down to eat. And we said that we'd do it while having dinner, but neither of us seemed to be able to bring it up during. I could hardly eat my food, I was so nervous. Once the plates were away, we were sitting at the table and his girlfriend began. She mentioned that sister had a boyfriend, and my brother originally seemed quite pleased. Not having a boyfriend is something that bothered my sister in the past. Although this happy mood took a turn pretty much instantly when she mentioned his age. He just sat there staring at his glass for what felt like eternity. I said they've not been together that long and haven't done much. Then his girlfriend told him that we've only known for a very short space of time and told him as soon as the time was right. Then he began speaking. He sounded calm, but I could tell he was not happy in the slightest. He demanded to know the guy's name, and I don't actually know this. I'm sure he said his name, but I can't really remember it. It was a generic English name. Think Jack, Dan, Ben, something like that. Then his girlfriend was on the verge of tears at this point. Don't think it was about my sister and the guy, but maybe about how upset my brother seemed. He looked heartbroken, to be honest. And she asked him not to do anything dumb, and I said a point that some of you commented about acting rash and pushing them close together. I said that it was best if he didn't contact sister yet or over the phone, and he reluctantly agreed, and we sat in silence again for a bit just drinking. It was like the air was so tense you couldn't speak. No one wanted to be the one to break the silence. Occasionally, I looked up towards my brother and he just had this look in his eyes, like he was staring straight through everything. He looked devastated. I was struggling not to cry. After what felt like ages, but realistically probably wasn't more than 10 minutes, he got up and said he was going to shower. He gets pretty dirty at work. And once he walked into the bathroom/bedroom, his girlfriend got up and told me to watch some TV and have some dessert while she went with him. So I got myself another glass of wine. The drinking age is 18 in my country, and I sat down watching TV. The walls in his apartment are thin, and I turned the TV down a little bit to try and hear. I'm nosy sometimes, and from what I could gather, she had gotten the shower with him, and I could hear them talking a bit, and at one point, I'm almost certain I could hear him crying, and her comforting him. I've only heard him cry maybe 3 times ever, and he said stuff like it's his fault and he should have made an effort to spend more time at our house/with her recently, and perhaps she would have asked him for some advice before getting involved with this creep. His girlfriend was assuring him that it wasn't in any way his fault and no one saw it coming. I heard him raise his voice at one point, but I don't think it was directed at his girlfriend. They came out maybe a total of 45 minutes later, and I pretended I had been watching TV all that time. My brother stepped out onto the balcony to smoke, and he was talking on the phone for a bit. He normally takes calls around people, so this was a bit weird. Also, it's about -2 degrees here at the moment, so it's not like he was enjoying the weather. Girlfriend told me about how he feels, and she said he's taking it hard, but doesn't want to show it in front of me. They are going to speak to my sister about it in some way or another, but don't think they've really planned it yet. Girlfriend is going to lead the chat though, I think, and it will just be those 3. They said I shouldn't sit in either, at least not right at the start. And girlfriend has made bro promise not to do anything without talking to her first, but honestly, I've never seen him look so angry. Then when he came back in, we didn't speak about it again. We watched TV and drank a little more. We were all snuggled up on the sofa, brother leaning on his girlfriend's chest and me leaning on brother's stomach. He had his arm around me pretty tightly like he used to do, which was nice, and it reminded me of the old days when we were kids, minus the alcohol obviously. And then for a moment, I almost forgot about this whole effed up situation. Then girlfriend asked him if he wanted to get some rest since he's been up since 5 a.m. and they went into their room, popped in to see if they wanted some water, and then he was lying with his face buried in her chest and she was rubbing his back and decided to give them some space, so went into my room. I'm staying in their spare room tonight since we've been drinking, and I could hear them speaking a bit ago and when they were in bed, and he still sounded pretty down. While this situation makes me really uncomfortable and down, I can't really imagine how it must be for him, which makes it hard to know what he's thinking, and I don't know how to help him. Honestly, don't know what to expect tomorrow. Feel a bit better now we've told him, and it didn't go nuclear, but still pretty anxious about the days to come. And my god, I didn't quite realize how much I had written. Don't blame you if you don't end up reading all of it, but thanks to any of those who do. Update number 2. 1 day later. Hey guys, thanks again for all your kind messages while I was asleep. Hopefully I will get around to replying to all of them. And I figured the least I could do is keep you up to date a little. So, sister is staying another night at her friend's house, and I confirmed with the older sister that she is definitely there and not with the creep. She isn't aware that my brother or even his girlfriend knows yet. I don't know if I should text her and tell her though. If they were really angry or something, then I might have considered it, but it seems that it would only have a negative impact at the moment. Still, I feel a bit rough about last night and would rather not be in our house all all alone, so a girlfriend said to stay around again. She took me over to my house to grab some clean clothes and such while my brother was asleep, and we saw some of bro's friends chilling down the road from my house, but this isn't necessarily weird as there's a lot of foot traffic on the estate normally. People don't rely on cars as much here in the US, for example. And girlfriend was chatting to them while I went inside, and they'd walked off by the time I came out, and we stopped by a couple of shops before heading back home. Then we got back to my brother's, and he still hadn't come out of his room yet. Girlfriend went in with him while I played around on his PlayStation for a bit. I quite like Warzone, however, I'm really bad at it. Then later, girlfriend came out after a while. She didn't seem annoyed, but maybe concerned, and said my brother's been drinking and is supposedly still very unhappy about yesterday's news and isn't sure where to go with it. She said that he had hoped it was a bad dream when he woke up this afternoon. I feel really bad that he's hurting and that I don't think there is much I can do to support him or to stay with him, and I can't really picture how this situation would feel from his perspective. While I rarely think about my own father, this whole situation has made me despise him even more than I already did. It's strange to think how he's still managing to hurt our family indirectly even though we haven't seen him for all of these years. And I asked a girlfriend if I should go in and speak to my brother or if there was anything I could do, but she said not to worry about it and that it's her job. He's taken a few days off of work and she has too, so she can be there for him, if needed, which is sweet. Then we downloaded Minecraft onto his PlayStation and me and her have been playing it this afternoon and evening, which has been really nice. I really appreciate her in this whole situation. She's literally an angel. I'm sure there are some people out there that if in her position would just wash their hands of it. Someone else's family, someone else's problem type thing, but she has been so helpful. And brother, he still hasn't appeared yet, but girlfriend said the three of us will go out to dinner or get takeout and watch a film. They're both in the shower now, and then hopefully we will be doing something. Should be another nice evening. It would be rough to be stuck at home alone at the moment, and I'm glad they're so accepting of me staying over. And look, it sounds kind of stupid, embarrassing, but slyly, inside, I feel like a kid again, living the childhood I wish I had. Just enjoying time with my parents, and I could never admit this to them though. I think it might be a bit too weird. And I just reread what I've written above and realized an awful lot of it isn't actually relevant to the actual issue, which is my sister and the creep, but I think writing out what's happening like a diary is helping me process the whole thing a lot easier. Thanks again for all of the support. Update. 4 days later. Hey guys, sorry I haven't updated sooner. Me and my sister are back at my house. Brother and girlfriend still haven't spoken to her, and I think they're going to be waiting until the weekend when we're all meant to be meeting. But just as I thought things were on the up and up, it seems things have just gotten more complicated. Noticed sister was a bit upset when she came home last night, and after some pushing, she told me what was up, and it kind of broke my heart. This is obviously a bit weird for me to type out, and I don't really want to imagine it. She said that her and the creep had been drinking a bit the previous night. She had a fair bit and was rather drunk, and he ended up convincing her to try some more stuff. She said that they were making out and undressing, but it ended up pretty much him still dressed and her not, which I don't know is slightly weird to me. And he convinced her to try oral and was rather rough with her, holding her head down and such, being rough with her, squeezing stuff, etc. She told him to be more gentle, and he did for a bit, but then would go back to being rough. And she said that once it was done, she started putting her clothes back on, but he wanted her to stay bare while they watched TV, even though he was clothed, which she did for a bit despite feeling uncomfortable. And he had work today, so they didn't stay up late, and she ended up coming back here instead of sleeping over at his house. Right now, she feels sort of dirty and used, and I tried explaining to her that it shouldn't be like that. It should be enjoyable for both parties, and she seems to think that her experience was just down to it being the first time and that she will get used to it. And this is clearly a major red flag, but she doesn't seem to think so. Blinded by young love, I guess? I haven't told brother or girlfriend about this, and as far as sister is aware, they don't even know about the creep. I'm not sure if I should tell them or not. On one hand, it might help them formulate a better argument when they do speak to her on Saturday, but on the other hand, I don't think my brother would take that particularly well. And apologies for the graphic content above. It's not a very pleasant read, but I feel that giving you guys as much info as possible is helpful for you to give me the best advice. Thanks. Final update. 1 week later. Hello guys, this should be the final update and it's rather long, so my apologies. As someone suggested in my previous update, I spoke to my brother's girlfriend about what I wrote in it, and she wasn't pleased, but we agreed not to tell my brother, although later my sister actually told him herself. And Saturday evening, me and my sister came over to theirs to have dinner. I was pretty nervous about how it was going to go down, but I think after reading all of your comments, I was pretty prepared for it. Then, once we had gotten settled, my girlfriend asked my sister if she could talk to her for a minute, and girlfriend spoke to her about sex. how it should be, safety, relationships, that sort of thing. I wasn't there for it though, as sister would be more inclined to be open if there wasn't a blood relative sitting there staring. Then girlfriend came out and got my brother, and he went in there for a bit. And once it was just me outside, I eavesdropped for a little bit, and I had heard a lot of tears. It seemed my sister was already aware how it was a weird relationship and wasn't entirely happy, but was too embarrassed to admit that the first boyfriend she had managed to get and bragged about had turned out to be so horrible. At this point, I went in and saw my sister crying in my brother's arms. She couldn't seem to stop, and I'm guessing all the stuff she was bottling up about this whole ordeal was finally coming out now, and she had someone to speak to. My brother also looked like he was crying a little, and it turns out what sister had told me about their previous encounter wasn't completely accurate. While it was true it was just oral, supposedly he had been much rougher than she told me, and called her nasty names, but she's adamant that it wasn't SA. My brother looked really uncomfortable though as she was talking about it, which I can't really blame him for. It must be absolutely horrible hearing your little sister speak about experiencing that. And by this point, it was obvious he was crying, but my sister couldn't see as she still had her face buried on his chest, and his girlfriend looked pretty sad too. My brother was rubbing her back and telling her it's okay and that she wants her to feel free to talk to him about anything, and his girlfriend still thinks he's beating himself up about his perceived failings, and I can't imagine the new news is going to do him many favors in his head. And then, at this point, sister seemed to be aware of his tears and sat up, and they hugged for what felt like ages. And I reassured my sister that everyone comes across bad boyfriends at some point in their life, and it's nothing to be ashamed about, and we spoke a bit more. She said she was glad she could end it with the weirdo without feeling embarrassed and never wants to see him again. She said that she wishes she could just forget the whole ordeal, and she admitted to girlfriend in their earlier discussion that it wasn't like an age fetish thing, he just made her feel special for once, which I've read as a common tactic amongst those creeps. Then we talked a bit more, but since it was Saturday, I can't remember any more specifics than I've already mentioned. And after we were done chatting, I went out into the balcony to smoke, and when I came back, brother and sister were on the sofa watching a film, and girlfriend was cooking. She was curled up with her head on his chest and appeared to be happy, and I'm hoping she was feeling the exact same thing I did the other week of being loved like we were children again. And at one point, she texted the creep that she didn't want to see him ever again. At first, he started texting her, almost begging, but then it turned to quite nasty words and threats, and he started calling and calling. Eventually, my brother answered and stepped onto the balcony with her phone. I don't know what was said, but I heard some shouting, and I can't imagine he was very friendly. We spent the rest of the evening relaxing and watching films, and girlfriend sat there playing with my brother's hair, and I don't think sister moved from practically on top of my brother for the whole evening. She started crying a bit later, and he just held her and rubbed her back, and I could tell my brother was still not feeling great about the whole thing, and I think he blames himself for my sister ending up in the situation she did. Even now, 5 days later, I can tell it's still bothering him, but he tries to hide it. He's just not very good at it, and not sure what I can do to reassure him about this. We're both still staying around here and will do for the foreseeable future, maybe permanently. Unfortunately, the creep knows where we live, and they don't want us going back there at the moment. The creep still texts her and tries to call her. She does have some stuff at his house that she needs to collect when he's back from a business trip, and my brother doesn't want her to go and is sending some friends I mentioned previously in her place. I don't know exactly what he said to them, but I think the creep is going to have a nasty shock when he opens the door expecting to see my poor little sister and is greeted by a couple of lean, mean-looking 25-year-olds. What they will do to him, I don't know, and honestly, I don't care. I apologize for the length of this post, but wanted to give you guys some closure. I can't thank you all enough for the amazing advice that you've given me, and honestly, I couldn't have gotten through this without you. Hopefully, this is the start of a new chapter in our lives. So, this is one of those instances where the story is left open to interpretation of the viewer. So what do you guys think happened when those big, scary-looking 25-year-old buff dudes came in and opened up the door? I think, well, a lead pipe was probably involved, I'm just saying. Or they walked in there, pushed right past the creepy dude, and then just ripped up all of his Pokemon cards. Every single one of them, and then they spit on his Nintendo Wii. That's just disrespectful. Imagine someone walking into your house and spitting on your gaming console. Well, how do you respond to that? And then also the brother, who just sounds amazing. You know, maybe he killed a few people, we don't know. But just sounds like a great protective guy who had to step up, unfortunately, and sacrificed his teenage years to be the big brother, the dad, the parental guardian, the guiding figure, the shield and sword for these women. And when OP mentioned that he was saving up for the wedding dresses, I had to stop the recording. I got a little emotional, I will not lie. But you know what? We are at the end of the video. Thank you all so much for watching, commenting, have a really good day, and bye-bye!